Hello, 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 everybody. It's your girl, Stevie Aisha Mills. I am the I Love My Life strategist, and I help women push past their past so that they can loudly and proudly declare, I love my life. I love hosting the conversation. It's such a dynamic time for me to talk to some powerful people who are doing powerful things in their life and business. And so today is no different. I have a woman who I had the pleasure of meeting a few short months ago, almost a year now, and she just is dynamic. I saw her at a conference in Atlanta, and we could talk some more about that conference because that was a major conference. But guess what? She is a woman who I was like, oh, my gosh, we have got to have you on the conversation. So her name is Karen Q. Welcome, Karen. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm absolutely phenomenal. Thanks for asking. I really would like for you to begin by introducing us to who you are and how you show up in the world.
Well, as a business owner, I show up as the CEO and founder of Q Infusion. We're a business consulting firm that gets significant results. And those results usually look like, as a result of working with me, business owners go from overwhelm and burnout to developing a business that ditches those brutal work hours and allows time to create a life of significance without sacrificing revenue growth. That's how I show up as a business owner, but I'm also a mom and a wife, and I like to spend time with my friends as well, and I like to help business owners show up in the world any way that they want to as well and not be beholden to the business.
Awesome. And so you said a lot of great things during that time. And one of the things that stick out most in my head is that you said you help business owners not get burnt out and not get overwhelmed. Oh, my goodness, how many business owners need that help? I know that I've been there, and I understand that. So tell us about that. How do you help us?
Well, I think we've all been there. But my key goal is to get your processes, your tools, your people, and your management to all integrate together so that it's working as one system, or actually there's 6 systems that every business needs. But we get those working all together, and we get them working for you. Sometimes those things are working against us, and then we end up having to work harder and harder in our business, and it sucks up more and more time. But what I've found out over the years is that if we put these systems together properly and make them work for us, then life gets so much easier, and we can really meet the goals of our life and do our business at the same time.
That's awesome. So you create synergy and you create synchronization in businesses. And so I heard you say something about the 6 areas. Can you break that down?
Absolutely. As your customer or client would experience it, the first system is lead generation. And, of course, that's where your marketing comes in and you're getting known. And then the next step is sales, because you need to take those leads and close the deal, because, as Doreen Rainey says, that's how you get paid. And then the next phase of it is service delivery or product delivery. And this is one of the areas that I've spent most of my life working in. I had a huge corporate career, and service delivery was the bulk of it. So I've been able to take what I call big business ideas and infuse those into small business methods. The next one after that is customer service and feedback, which is another one of my core areas. The 5th one is financial and accounting systems that we all need, and I'm by no means an expert in that, but I could help look at those gaps and then make sure that you get hooked up with the right professional help. Typically, most business owners like to outsource that anyway, because that sucks up a lot of time, and you need to have a lot of expertise to be prepared for your taxes, especially. And then the last one is your CEO hat, which a lot of business owners, it ends up getting crushed because the reason that you started the business in the first place is because you're so passionate about the services or the products that you're providing, and you're a really great practitioner. And then you realize that there's all this other business stuff that you need to wrap around you as a practitioner and your business as a practitioner. So I help people with the CEO piece of it. That's strategic planning. That's the HR piece of it. There's a whole lot of components that go into being a CEO, and you're responsible for all of it, and it has to layer over all the rest of the systems.
Wow. So you help us get the systems and the strategy together for the business. And that's amazing because a lot of people kind of leave that out. We like to do the fun parts, right? We don't necessarily like to do the nuts and bolts. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely. Like I said, most business owners are so excited about being the practitioner, and then the overwhelm and the burnout comes from all the rest of the pieces, from lead generation and sales, all the way through being responsible for everything. For the hiring, for the training, for, feeding and nurturing your employees if you have them, for outsourcing to the areas, that you're going to outsource to if you don't, even if you do have employees. But typically a lot of small business owners either hire within or they outsource. And you have to partner with those people that you're outsourcing to because they become an intricate part of your business. And if you're not nurturing those relationships as well, then there might be a disconnect, and then your business isn't getting fed the way that it needs to.
Wow. CODs and systems and automation, I love this conversation because those are all the things that I really love about what they say, getting paid while you sleep.
Yes,
all these things are vital.
Exactly, and I can't put enough emphasis on that CEO head. I mean, that's the third area that I'm an expert in. The other three, I can help assess and identify gaps, but I usually partner with other people that have way more experience in those three. Because even I'm not, an expert at every piece of, anyone's business, even mine. I'm still learning.
And that's important to know and realize. And have you always been the type of person to say, I'm great at this but not so good at this? Because a lot of people in society and in business, we don't like to admit what we're not great at. So have you always been that person, or did you go through something that taught you to become that way?
Yeah, I think I've gone through the journey of thinking that, it's kind of, there's a dichotomy here. I never think I know enough. I think I've always had that attitude. I really never know enough, and I want to learn more and more and more. But I've certainly been a person that has taken more responsibility than I really need to, and as a result, I'm an overachiever, and I'm also typically I'll overfunction for a lot of other people. And in identifying those two things, I have put a lot of time and effort into not overfunctioning for everybody else, to the point that I've actually underfunctioned for a little while. I think, I had to pull all the way back and then reengage. And there's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in letting somebody else, not only do their part, but sometimes do more than their part when you really need it. And it's definitely been a process for me.
Wow. So it sounds like you can look at, kind of like when you're collaborating, you can look at the different parts and piece that together. You're a functional type of person, it sounds like. Are you great at project management?
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of what I did for 17 years in my corporate career.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're the type of person we all need in our life and business to help us keep it straight. Because a lot of times CEOs, people are so used to being a entrepreneur by themselves. They don't know how to build teams. So if we hired you to help function and manage that, I think that would be a strong suit. Because when you're talking, I hear you speaking about just the parts that people play and identifying them well. So what do you think is the missing link that people have when building their teams and building their systems, besides the ones we've already talked about, but really given more about a permission piece? Why don't you think we give ourselves permission to do that?
You just wrapped a whole lot of stuff into one question. All right, let me see if I can break it down. We don't give ourselves permission. I think part of it is having time to give ourselves permission, because when you take on the responsibility of being a business owner, I think it comes with a huge weight. I think people take it very, very seriously, and it's very heavy, and they feel like they are responsible for absolutely everything, which then clicks in their head that they have to perform in that way, as if that's what society expects of them. So I think that over time, that's what happens, and then it's hard to kind of separate that out. And I think that's part of the permission piece. Because a lot of times self-care kind of goes out the window. And that's what you end up trading off in order to put those long hours in. And I think that there is society pressure and maybe even an expectation that we are going to trade off everything you have to trade off everything to be successful. And I think that that's why business owners are so burned out when they buy into that line of thinking. And it takes a lot of strength to back up, take a step back and really look at it and stand up for yourself and say, you know what, there's a better way to do this. I need to ask for help. I need to start taking care of myself, and find a different way to do it. So I think that's the permission piece. You asked about why, something about, I think, hiring was part of your question, and what triggered in my head was that the number one thing that I hear business owners say is, there's no good help. I can't find anybody that's reliable. I just can't find the right person to come in and help me out with my business. And hiring is one of the number one issues that small businesses have. They just did a survey for 2017, and that was the top challenge for small business owners. And in fact, I just wrote a blog on it. It won't come out probably until March. Oh crap! I just screwed that up for you. I apologize. But anyway, it should come out in March.
You're fine.
And what I say in it is that, business owners have a hard time finding people that are reliable because they want everybody else to do their training for them. They're expecting candidates to come in, 80%, already there. And I think a more realistic view is that they're going to come in maybe 40 or 50%, and then we as business owners need to invest in them. And we need to train them. We need to support them. We need to give them the 3 to 6 months that it takes, an average of anybody moving to a new position just to get a handle on it. And when we have a system in place that can help transition new hires in, and we have a really good onboarding process and then continuing support, business owners have a lot easier time finding good people and keeping them.
Wow, that's good. That's good information. I think that a lot of times people just don't know. We're used to being on on the point of let me just figure this out because it's easier for me to do it than delegate it. And I think delegation is a necessary thing, but at the same time I feel like we have got to train ourselves to slow down and show somebody our way, because entrepreneurs protect businesses like they are our babies, which they are, but I don't know that people really get to the point easily of, okay, let me just give my business to somebody else, because when you do that, you have to vouch for a whole lot of things for a lot of people. So I think that's when you're starting to hiring a team as part of the elevation process, because you can't do it all yourself. And so you're right about what you're saying. Let's talk about the conference, which we met, because I know that you said Doreen Rainey, and I know that she was there. So tell us about the work that you have done with that and just about your experiences with Doreen.
Well, I discovered Doreen Rainey, I believe it was in 2012, and at the time she was hosting the Get Radical conference, and I was at a transition point in my life. I knew I needed to do a lot of things differently, especially personally, and I was looking for just new information, new way of thinking, and a community to grow with. So I went and got radical with Doreen, and I continued going to her conferences for 3 years, and then I decided to open Q Infusion, which is my third small business now, and I hired her as a coach, and it was at that time that she was transitioning into the Steve Harvey World Group as the vice president of Transformation Division, I believe. And she sold part of her Get Radical company to Steve and his group, which is now Act Like a Success, and the Steve Harvey Radical Institute, I believe. They may have rebranded it since then, but at least that's what it was to start. And it was at that point that I started volunteering to work for Act Like a Success, and I've done it the last 2 years. And I'm hoping to be there this year as well.
Well, awesome. Yes, I think it's great when we as business owners just do something that's going to be on a different level. You know, when we go to different conferences and really invest our time and energy to be on the volunteer team or to be in the room, it just does something for our businesses, and I think that's important. So I wanted to have you share that. And so we are really just understanding some of the things that I'm glad that you're bringing out, because I am kind of the other side of the brain when it comes to some of these things.
Yeah.
So I am very much creative and not so much analytical, and I love my analytical, system-oriented people. Trust me, I have them in my life because as a creative, we sometimes get overwhelmed by some of the things that we're having the conversation about today. When you talk about systems and this running right and this, like, we get it, but for that reason, we definitely need people like you, because I know that my dream, my aspiration, my goal is to retire in the next 2 years when I turn 40. And so I'm paying really close attention to people who speak the language that you speak. And that's very exciting to me, and I'm glad that you're here today, because I'm like, yes, I've researched these things, I've learned these things, and Karen is teaching these things and has a business. I understand that, because the automation process and the systems running right, and if not, your business will turn into a job that you go to instead of a business that runs by itself. And also, as a sole proprietor, it's very important that you do these things that we're talking about today, because, Lord forbid, if something happens to you, then where's the business? You can't create legacy if you're the only one knowing anything about the business, and there are no systems and there's no manuals and different things like that. So is that true? Do you believe that's true?
Absolutely. And I also understand the creative side. I owned a hair salon for 2 years, and my business partner was a hairstylist. And she thought completely opposite of me, and so did almost everybody in that shop. So I had to figure out how to translate all of these business concepts into a language that they were going to understand, because I could start talking and 2 minutes later they'd start to glaze over.
Yep.
And I get it. I mean, it was tough. It was really tough at first, but you just really can't buy that kind of education. With being around people that think so differently from you. So
wow.
I really do. I have a lot of training in that.
That's awesome.
Actually.
That's awesome. That is very awesome.
Thank you so much for all the kind words, because it isn't every day that people appreciate my systems and processes and tools. I think that it can be kind of boring, and it sometimes is hard to get your head wrapped around what that actually means and what it can do for you. But it's exactly what you said. I mean, franchises do this every day. Big businesses do this every day. They put together a set of procedures for just about everything that you have to do in the business. And then you put together several sets of procedures, and then that equals a process. And then you take your process and you mix that with the tools, which a lot of times are the automation that you're talking about and the IT, and then you need to glue that together with how your people are operating. And then on top of that, you need somebody that's managing all of those things together. And when you take the processes and the tools and the people and you're managing it, that equals a system.
Yes. And people always utilize, and this is a great example, McDonald's. McDonald's, when they talk about what we're talking about, because of the fact that, McDonald's does have it, they run like a very tight machine everywhere. Yep. in the world that has a McDonald's, you're going to have the same thing, same experience. And I think another brand leader that I did my internship for and that I know uses the creative side, but plenty of systems mixed into all that, is Disney. It's very systematic. And
absolutely.
So what do you think about those two companies?
I think they have it down, and I don't think that they have a problem finding good people to hire, because they're looking for a certain skill set, they're looking for a certain personality, and they're looking for somebody that's going to be teachable so that they can come into their training programs, learn the exact system, that Ray Kroc put together in the beginning for McDonald's and that Walt Disney put together for Disney. And they're able to carry out those missions and those values, exactly the way that it was originally envisioned. And I think this is where a lot of small business owners get caught up, because they are worried that if they, give their baby to somebody else, that it's not going to be done the way that they would do it, and it's not going to be the same quality. And, to some extent, I understand that concern. But if you set up, the training and the procedures and the processes and the systems to allow those people to be successful exactly the way that you would like them to be, then it's magic.
I love it. And so we are rounding up to the last few minutes of our show. I definitely want to give you the time to do two things, one of which is to let us know how we can contact you and stay connected, and the other one is to just speak about anything that we may have missed in our time together, but you're like, Stevie, we got to tell them this. Let them know that.
All right. Well, you can find me at qinfusion.com. That's QINFUSION.com. Definitely check out my blog. I publish weekly on Wednesdays, and I have kind of inserted a very fun element to my blog. Last summer I was feeling like it was getting a little boring, so I have box office business lessons where I watch movies, sometimes very unorthodox movies like Trolls, and come up with business lessons that I can learn from the movie. You can also find me on Twitter at QInfusion, and Facebook I'm either Karen Q, or I also have a business page, QInfusion. So, and Q is QUE. So that's how you can find me. And Stevie, I know the conversation is about why do you do what you do, not just like how you do it, but why. So one of the things I want to make sure that I leave your listeners with is that, my family's really important to me. They are my primary, reason in life. And one of the struggles that I've had as I've gone through my growth process is that being a mom and being a wife doesn't always fill me up. Like, I don't always get the level of satisfaction that I feel like society thinks I should. And where I get that from is working with business owners. And I have so much passion around it that I tell people all the time that I started this consulting business because I can't seem to keep my nose out of everybody else's business, because I'm just so interested in knowing about your business and helping out that I might as well start a business that, gets me paid for helping all of these other businesses out. But what I've really come to learn, and I just learned this last summer, I guess I've come to accept, is that me having Q Infusion in my life and being able to help people at such a significant level really fills me up, and it makes me a better mom, and it makes me a better wife, and it makes me a better friend, because that's where I get a lot of energy from. So there's a little insight into the why.
I love it. That is really about living the life that you can absolutely love. Part of my mission is to help women declare I love my life, and that's why I heard in all of that, like living a holistic life. And so we thank you, Karen, for coming to have a conversation with us, and we look forward to all the great things. I love what you're doing with your blog. I think that's absolutely cool, and I definitely will be checking that out, because I'm a big proponent in seeing the lessons in movies, too, about business. So I'm like, I got to go see it, and then if I haven't seen the movie, I'm going to go see the movie, too. So I cannot wait to read that, and we thank you for being here, and just for, really having a educational conversation with us, not only about life, but about business and about holistically living those things and really tapping into the why, because now that is abundant in what you do, and that's exciting. And so everybody, you have heard from Karen Q. I love that last name. I'm a fan of that last name.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You've heard from Karen Q, and I, of course, am Stevie Aisha Mills. Just to connect with me, if you ever want to find me, all you have to do is know how to spell my first name, Stevii, and I promise that if you put that name in social media, Google, put a .com after it, you'll find me. So, guys, I always say, make it a great day. Don't ever have a great day. Make it a great day, because you, and yes, you have the power to do so. Bye for now.